Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here again from G3. Okay, so one of the questions that I get on Quora a lot, I've been on Quora for about 2 months. I have over 7 million answer views, and I probably have gotten this question at least 100 times. And that is, what books have you read, and which ones do you recommend, and what should I be reading? And so that's kind of hard for me because I've read over 250 books altogether. I do books on Audible, I do books on Kindle, I do real paperback and hardback books. So I have quite the collection. So, but I did finally compile a list. I got so tired of the question that I said, all right, fine, I'll compile a list, and that way we can go through it. So I'm going to provide a link in the description for the actual blog post on Quora. It's gordonmiller.quora.com, and it'll give you the complete list and the links to Amazon where you can buy them and so on. But I want to give you a little bit more detail on this video that I can't give by typing it all out in on the blog post. So the first book is The 48 Laws of Power, a great book by Robert Greene. I love books like this that list certain things, even if you don't like, half of them. The other half are amazing. So I love it. It's a great book. I've read it time and time again, and I find that they're all very true. That you run into that quite a lot. And these books are in no order, so it's just the order that I last viewed them in, if that makes any difference. But the next book is The Art of the Deal by Donald J. Trump. So I read this book a long time ago. I reread it. It's a great book. It's one of my favorites. It does show the tenacity and the determination that Donald Trump has shown in business. And I think that will probably be indicative of what we're going to see in his presidency. So it's a great book, great, good insight. The next book is The Entrepreneur Mindset, 100 Essential Beliefs, Characteristics, and Habits of Elite Entrepreneurs by Kevin Johnson. So I love this book. It's one of the kind of things, again, 100 items, makes for a good read. It's real simple, but I think it talks about the entrepreneur mindset, which is really what a lot of people are trying to push these days. And it really is a mindset. It's about getting into the right frame of thought about what you're doing. So the next one is Financing Your Business Made Easy by Ralph Alturowitz. Now, Ralph is a good friend of mine, and I love Ralph to death. And this book was written a while ago, and I believe it may be out of print. I don't remember. I couldn't find the link to it on Amazon. But I have a digital version. I have a paper version, and it's mostly techniques that were used in the 80s and 90s, but those techniques are coming back. I mean, there's a real renaissance of traditional deal making that I think we're going to see, and I think that's a great book. If you can find it, you should be able to find it used. It's a great book. So the next one is Innovation and Entrepreneurship by Peter Drucker. Now, this is a great book. I always love books about innovation and talking about disruptive technologies and the role of innovation in entrepreneurship. Peter Drucker is one of my favorites. It's a great book. I think you'll enjoy that. Another book that doesn't get quite the visibility that I think it deserves is 101 Things I Learned in Business School. And there's a complement, there's a whole series of these things, but like 101 Things I Learned in economics class, or there's 101 Things I Learned in architecture school. The architecture school one is particularly appropriate for me. I have my master's degree in architecture, I have a bachelor's of fine art and design, and I really love that book. And I saw this one, and I was like, you know what, this is a great beginner's guide for business school, people that don't have a degree in business but want to understand what business schools are like, and it's a great book. Okay, so visualize this, The Flowing Data Guide to Design Visualization and Statistics by Nathan Yao. So this is a modern update from the Envisioning Information book by Tufte. Now, Tufte's book is amazing, and it's available only in hardback, and I believe it's out of print. I have one of the original copies that were published, so it is really hard to find that book, and it is really expensive. I think it's like $300. So I tried to find one that was available in a more modern format. Tufte does all of his own printing. Each book is done by hand. It's just an amazing book. But good Lord, I mean, I think this book has a lot of the same information, but doesn't necessarily cost an arm and a leg. So the next book is one that I think everybody knows they need to read, which is The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. So I got my start in this whole arena as director of or co-founder of the Lab for Scientific Visual Analysis at Virginia Tech, and then the founder of the Multimedia Lab at Virginia Tech. And that was in 1988, 89, 90, 91 when I got started. And that was about the same time that Guy Kawasaki was at Apple starting out. I've been following his career since the early days. Guy, I love you. Your books are great. You've got some great advice for people. I love your 10 slides that a pitch deck should have. Every entrepreneur needs to know your stuff inside and out. It's amazing. So let's see what's next. Millionaire Fastlane, the Crack the Code to Wealth and Live Rich for a Lifetime by MJ DeMarco. So a good book. You know, it's not as groundbreaking as some of the others, but it's one that I really enjoy, and I think it's worth the read. The other one is Crowdfunding Revolution: Social Networking Meets Venture Financing by Kevin Lawton and Dan Marham. I like this book. I'm a huge fan of crowdfunding. In fact, I recommended crowdfunding to a number of people who came to me for investment, and I said, you don't need me. All you need is somebody to pre-purchase your product. They started a Kickstarter campaign. Now they made like 600 grand, and it's great. So they did great. Crowdfunding is an amazing way to do that, and it's certainly we're gonna see more of that coming up. The other one is Crowdfunding by Martin Ingblom. I don't know why I couldn't find the link, but it is what it is. It's another good book on crowdfunding. I like seeing a topic from different perspectives. The next one is the 10x Rule. The Only Difference Between Success and Failure by Grant Cardone. Well, Grant has sold millions of copies, and he's got his own YouTube channel, and you can catch his stuff. I mean. So I'm not one to judge, but Grant, you're full of shit, man. I love what you've done, but I tell you what, the 10x rule, where you try to create 10 times the value of what your item cost or what your services cost. I don't think Grant invented this. It's been around for quite some time, but you know what, Grant? You've done a great job of bringing it to the attention of millions of people. And dude, while you're driving around your Rolls Royce, enjoy it, man. You've earned it. You deserve it. All right, so one simple idea is Turn Your Dreams into a Licensing Gold Mine While Letting Others Do the Work by Stephen Key. So I love this book about one simple idea. It's always about trying to get your concept down to one simple thing that people can understand. And so it's important that we be able to do that. And so this book talks about getting to that one simple thing. Another great book, the Thank You Economy. Great book by Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. And Gary's on Quora too. I linked to Gary on this, so I apologize, Gary, for mispronouncing your last name. But this book, it probably did more to change my perspective on things. I was always really a grateful person, but this made me appreciate even more why success is driven by being grateful and having that attitude of gratitude. And it is really important. It's a great book. All right, so the next one is The Success System That Never Fails by William Clement Stone. It's another one of those success system books. It's not as prominent as the others, but I like it. The next book is The Law of Success, The Master Wealth Building Complete and Original Lesson Plan for Achieving Your Dreams by Napoleon Hill. Great book. I love these laws of success type things. I think it gives good guidance. Every book is slightly different. There's a lot of overlap in some, but I really love when we get to to that level and can begin to dive into those lists. The next one is The Wisdom of Crowds by James Surowiecki. And James is also on Quora, so I link to James. Great book, again, about both not only crowdfunding type strategies, but also the wisdom of crowds in terms of having people validate the things that you are trying to bring to market. Phenomenal idea, important that what you're doing has an audience. The only way you're going to ever make any money is to be able to attract people to your opportunity. And so I think it's a great book. Let's see. The next one. The next one is Small Giants, Companies That Choose to Be Great Instead of Big, and by Bo Burlingham. And Bo is also on Quora, so I linked to him. This is a great book. I love the idea of staying small and being great. And that's why we've decided, instead of, somebody asked me the other day, how come I don't have one single huge $100 million company? And I said, well, the reason is that I prefer to have 10 really good $10 million companies. The effect monetarily is the same, but it's a whole different environment and lifestyle. We can have companies that are excellent at what they do that you could never do in another environment. So I completely agree with what he says, and it's important to follow that kind of model. All right, so the next book is How to Build a Business and Sell It for Millions by Jack Garson. Good book. It's for those of you looking to sell and talk about how to build a business that has value. It's a good book. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and break now, and we'll come back in part 2. All right, thanks.